All right, welcome to the RJ Vaibhav Show on this podcast of Tech Tuesdays. And right now, I do have a very dear friend of mine who's joining in on this episode. We have Inderjit with me right now. Firstly, welcome to the show. How are you doing, man?
Doing good, Vaibhav. Doing very good. How are you?
Doing good, doing good, doing good. So, Tech Tuesdays is all about technology, and we talk a lot of technology offline. So we thought, why not put it on a podcast and let everybody hear it as well? As you know it, Inderjit, that this is a casual conversation. But before we begin, tell our viewers, listeners, a little bit about yourself.
First of all, Vaibhav, thank you for having me on the show. Congratulations on starting this. This is amazing. Tech Tuesdays is a great thing. Yeah, so a little bit introduction about myself. I'm Inderjit, and Vaibhav and I know each other for so many years. Work in the technology field. You can say technology enthusiast and always plugged in with things happening, how technology is improving lives as we go along. And today we have a topic that Vaibhav will introduce us.
Absolutely. You know what? Technology ki agar baat kare, right? Like if we talk about technology, this is like the it topic right now that everybody's talking about. And I'm talking about AI. If you ask a little kid now, a little kid and an elderly person, in fact, you know what? I have to give you this. I was recently at a gathering, and I saw these elderly people and uncles that were probably in their 60s, 70s, trying to talk about AI and trying to talk about tools that are introduced for the general mass public, right? So, Inderjit, firstly, take me through why this hype around AI. What is this AI? Of course, it stands for artificial intelligence, but what is this hype around AI that it's such a boom right now?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Everybody's talking about it. So the automation or the artificial intelligence is the word has been around for quite some time, and
Right.
we'll talk about some of the examples historically what we have seen. But I think the whole game changed when ChatGPT by OpenAI was released. So
Yeah.
if you look across all the technology applications, ChatGPT is the fastest adopted application. I think it hit about 1 million users within 5 days,
Yeah.
right? And it was a big change. I would say after search engine was a big thing where you just type in a prompt and it will give you an answer. You can talk about anything, and it talks like gathers all the information from large language models and the data behind it, and people were very surprised with the intelligence it had. So that's what's all about. So it got traction from there. Now we see AI, artificial intelligence in the corporate world. All the major companies are talking about it. And we saw that right after OpenAI released the ChatGPT, Microsoft heavily invested in it. And you name the companies, they're talking about it. So I guess that's what the buzz is all about.
Absolutely, and this whole Chat GPT kind of brought the whole conversation around AI to homes, to families, to students, to the general public, right? The general mass, regular job going person, from a school going person. Everybody's talking about AI now. And it's probably all thanks to Chat GPT and, the adoption that has happened towards ChatGPT. Is the UI a lot to do with the adoption because it's such an easy tool to use, and you don't need much coding, or you simply prompt something to this engine and it spews out an answer to you, from writing essays to researching on data to actually writing an entire book to writing lyrics for musicians. This thing can do everything.
Yeah, no, very, very good point there, Vaibhav. So In the corporate world, I have been seeing, AI and ML being thrown around all the time, right? You look
Right.
at, I remember back in the days when I had my first job. Actually, I was still in high school, I believe, and we had this co-op program where we were working, and I was providing support for scanners. Right. At that
Right.
time, HP was a major company making scanners, and it had a technology called OCR, optical character recognition. So
Hmm.
you feed in a form that you have printed, or even some of the handwritten ones, and it will
Right.
take that information, translate it to text, and you can put that into a Word document or email or whatever. So that's the early example of AI being used. But you're
Sure.
absolutely
Yeah.
right. I'm sure they looked all around and see where are people, how can we introduce it and most effectively. And we're
Right.
texting now, we're typing, we're using social media to communicate, and the basic thing of just typing a prompt, just like a text message, and giving you an answer. I think that's what just exploded things for everyone.
Yeah, and it's now becoming it's in an app format, right? Like you don't even need a computer anymore. You can actually download the app, and you can do it through the app. It's that easy and readily available to you. Right when ChatGPT was being introduced, right, a lot of people were excited to use it, of course. But there was also a lot of buzz, a negative kind of buzz around it, right? A lot of people were like, okay, hey, this is going to replace my job. What's going to happen in the future, right? And that's still a
Hmm.
conversation. That's still
Yeah.
a conversation where 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, what is going to happen to human intervention? Jobs that you see right now, there won't be positions that you see today available maybe in 10 years. Maybe that job is going to be done by AI. How big is this AI movement for job security? Of people going to work right now, are they supposed to be scared? Are they right in being scared is my question.
नहीं, मेरे हिसाब से वैभव ऑल अलोंग, जैसे शुरुआत में हम देखें कि अब पेरेंट्स जनरेशन और ग्रैंड पेरेंट्स जनरेशन, the machinery was coming in, we thought that that will take jobs away, and that
Right.
wasn't the case.
Yeah.
Like I remember Henry Ford's quote, if it was up to the people, they would have asked for faster horses, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So technology, in my opinion, has always, pushed the human race forward,
Right.
historically. And if
Right.
the jobs are going away, more jobs are being created.
True.
But at the same time, you want to make sure that doesn't get in wrong hands, because there are always pros and cons when the technology comes in. You look at Ubers, Airbnbs, and all of the world.
Yeah.
वो दोनों साइड होती है ना. उसकी वजह से आई थिंक with this, like the godfather of AI, Jeffrey Hinton, he left his job because he saw some of the scenarios were negatively being used. So we need proper regulations. I'm sure we'll talk more about that later on. But
Right.
from the job security perspective, there are stats out there like 70 or 80% of the job that exists today, they will not exist when our kids are in the workforce. So
Right.
naturally, the evolvement will happen. But on the positive side, I think look at economies like India or the developing nations, where this AI technology can really empower students or education. For example, where parents may not know English, it can translate, text on the fly. When you can talk to the AI, and it will translate things for you in the native language. Those type of things will really empower users who may have
Right.
some limitations,
Right.
to actually create more jobs in the society.
But then let me ask you, there's a flip side to it also, right? So, like, say I am a creative person who works really, really hard on my craft, right? For example, if I'm a writer, and I write for a living, I put in a lot of thought in my writing, but now the next guy can get a head start on me by using AI and get like at least a starting point, right? And kind of develop their idea on it. And you've probably seen in Hollywood and stuff like that, right? We were discussing this.
Yeah.
A lot of creative people are also kind of going on strike, and they're also kind of retaliating towards this whole AI movement, where there are going to be copyright issues, people are copying their work. A lot of things are coming up slowly, so there has to be like a negative impact of AI as well, is what I'm trying to ask you.
Yes, like I said earlier, they're both sides of the coin. Like, for example, there are some creative people really embracing the technology, and also there's some out there where they're saying, okay, our material has been used to feed these large LLMs, large language models, and then they're not being compensated for it.
Absolutely.
But I would say one thing, when you really look at the creative side, you're into music and you do voiceovers and you're doing the podcast. One thing I think creative people have is that AI, I think, can never replace is the emotions, and when you really put heart into it, because it does not have one, right?
Right.
So with the creative side, I think that can be really leveraged from that perspective, and really look at that as augmenting on the creative side, like whether it's music, lyrics, or writing something. But at the same time, we have seen through the music, right? Music wave, when there were cassettes, CDs, MP3 came along, it was really hurting the artist. But then also there was a positive side of it. And I remember being in college and listening to this underground music from all around the world, especially Desi music. That's how I got hooked onto it. And people really got famous, right? And now we are looking Spotify or streaming services, and MP3s are not there anymore. So I think it's a natural evolution of the technology. It will correct itself. But at the same time, in the beginning, we got to make sure there are proper guardrails and people are getting compensated fairly for this.
Absolutely. And you know what, I would probably also say that I would draw a comparison to autotune, right? A lot of people know about autotune. It can fix your pitch, but it can't fix your emotion, right? So it's just like that. I mean, you need some heart and emotion into what you do. But I would like to give you an example of this rap, that was this hip hop song that was created in Drake's voice. I don't know whether you're aware or not, right? So this was created using AI. I found it really fascinating, and then I would like to point out a tool called voice.ai. So what it does is you can input a prompt through your voice using that. And it'll give you different data sets, different data models of different celebrities. So I can maybe pick like a Donald Trump, or maybe an Obama, or maybe a Shah Rukh Khan, or maybe any celebrity, you name it. And then these data sets are created by users and developers, and then whatever prompt you gave will be converted into their voice. Now, there has to be some sort of a red tape around this, because I could be saying anything. I could be saying something really dangerous and be using some famous person's voice, and that could land them in trouble, because right now, as we speak in AI, that differentiation between real and AI is slowly, that gap is getting narrower and narrower as we go along.
You're absolutely correct. So just the other day, I think yesterday, I was looking at another tool called Resemble AI. And you will just record a part of the paragraph, right? It will see how your voice inflection is, how your pronunciation of the words is, and then it will really, you can put in a script, and it will just sound like Vaibhav or Inderjit, exactly like that. But you're right. I mean, that's why I think all these tech leaders, they have signed the open letter to make sure there's a responsible use of this. It's not being abused, and it's not being like, for example, the work of Drake, or using someone else's pictures or the audio or the videos, and being used in the wrong manner. And so that's the dangerous side of it, and I think all the leaders are aware of it. but how do you put guardrails around it?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's a big question, right?
And then how do you, even if you do try to put guardrails around it, right? It's out in the open on the internet, and it, even if you put a subscription model on it, or like a premium paid version of it, right? Like people will eventually get a hold of it through maybe Discord, maybe someone will try to, there will be ways around it. But my question is, do you anticipate a lot of like lawsuits and, because there's still not, I don't see a lot of regulation around a lot of these tools that are coming out. And then these kind of tools are coming out pretty much every day. We learn about new tools almost every day now. And more people are getting into creating these tools.
Yes, I actually see a bunch of those. I was really hoping initially that OpenAI will be gonna take a hold of it, but now
Yeah.
you see, every particular industry, you see those. But you're absolutely right, that a lot of different tools are coming out doing different things, and make sure that it's not being negatively used, because during election times or other political events.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because the bad guys, they don't really have any rules, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
yeah,
it can
exactly.
have a big impact. So उसके बारे में तो मुझे लगता है कि जो public sector and the private sector, both government and the corporations, they need to sit down and
Yeah.
really make sure that how to regulate it. Because when the internet came out, right, I remember Mark Cuban was really worried about YouTube. That it's going to be a lot of issues with the copyrights, music being on there, but somehow it got corrected, and YouTube
Right.
is now probably the second largest search engine, and a lot of music is on there. So those type of things, I think will happen a matter of time, but initially that we don't have any negative impact of it, that can be solved by the governments and the corporations getting together and finding a solution for it.
But you know what a time that we're living in right now, right? I mean, this is just like the tip of the iceberg, really. We're kind of in a time, in about 10 years our kids are gonna be equipped with so much technology. I mean, obviously we will be too, but what a future that we're looking at right now. The sky is the limit, really. I mean, did we ever think that there are going to be electric cars, cars running without gasoline, right? But it happened. And now, with this AI thing, man, do you see eventually, maybe, and this is just a fleeting thought, in 15, 20, 25 years, you will see maybe robots working at factories, and you'll see your co-workers as robots, maybe coming into work and going out. I mean, it's a possibility. It's a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hooked on to the metaverse, and a lot of times you have a AI person in front of you conversating, right? The people are already using some of those models to train their employees, and the HR is working on some of the things where you can onboard by leveraging those technologies. And we have seen some countries like Japan or China, there are already robots delivering food, working as waiters. So those things, I think, will happen. I mean, you're absolutely right. By AI coming into the picture, and everywhere, any work conference I go to, any company that you look at, they're talking about this. And I think we are the inflection point in the technology, how it will really take over, like the iPhone did, right? So the next big thing that we're seeing with what will happen by leveraging AI.
And think about this: Samsung, Apple, all these companies, right? Especially, I would like to talk about photography on these phones, on these smartphones. They used to rely just on maybe your sensor, or how good the camera is. But now AI can do a lot of that kind of editing in the back end on these phones. I'll give you an example, right? So Samsung, are you aware of the Samsung S23 Ultra, right? So when this phone came out, they marketed this phone. Obviously, the camera is amazing on the phone, no questions asked.
Yes.
I mean, it's no denying there. But when they started marketing this phone, they started marketing their 100x zoom, right, on the cameras. So you would 100x zoom towards the moon at night, and they were saying that you can see craters of the moon while that picture, when you take a picture of the moon through your phone, okay, not even a telescope, through your phone.
Yeah.
And I've actually seen those pictures, and you can see those craters. Later on, all these tech experts and all these phone reviewers, they kind of thought that, hey man, this looks a bit fishy, right? So what they started doing is they started questioning it. So one guy took like a black piece of paper and he cut out a piece of moon. He printed a moon out, right? And he cut it out, and then he pasted it, and then he put it at a distance, and then he 100x zoomed on it, and guess what happened, Inderjit? Those craters started showing up on that artificial cutout moon. So what is basically happening in those phones is when you take that picture, it's doing a generative AI sort of a thing in the background. It's taking millions of pictures of the moon from the internet, and it's making it look as realistic as possible of the picture that you and kind of blending it with the picture that you've taken. So ideally, it's not a real picture. There's a lot of AI work that's going, behind the technology. What do you feel about this? Because then Samsung got caught, and
that's a great example.
They have still not apologized for it.
Yeah, I remember that my nephew the other day, he was trying to take picture of the moon, and but I saw the camera. I saw like how Samsung is always a step ahead of Apple on the phone and the technology, but being used behind the scenes, I have not heard that. That's interesting.
Having said that, the camera is definitely amazing. I think it's 10 times ahead of Apple, in my opinion, and even I'm an Apple user, and I'm still saying it, right? But that 100x zoom, I think it was a gimmick. But that whole moon picture part of it, I think it was a gimmick, and you cannot take astrophotography with your camera phone yet. So that. But yeah, I mean, they marketed that thing, saying that you can take a picture of the moon and it'll come out great. So
no, that's all about marketing, man. Like that's what happened with ChatGPT, right? Word of mouth, and
so what's the difference between ChatGPT and GPT-4? Take me through that, right? Like, what is the difference? What is different between 3 and 4?
So GPT, if I'm not mistaken, is generative pre-transformer, right? So the first version, they had some functionality, and I think just the power behind it, how much data it has in the backend, how much it can generate, that was a big difference. And I think you have a subscription and all the other things built into it in the GPT-4 model, but I think they put brakes after the fourth version before the fifth one comes out, because when we're really talking about the media and the entertainment industry, you're talking about really taking characters from the movies. I was actually watching the interview yesterday. They said, like, okay, think about AI generating like a Netflix type of series, and you give it a prompt, and it's a never-ending web series where you can tell it what do you want it to do. It will take characters from the previous episode and keep on going. But those type of things are happening. But it's just a more horsepower behind it. What you can do with it, and then all the
and
APIs.
That's a premium version, right? That's a paid version.
Correct.
I think GPT-4 is a paid version.
Yeah, so the app is out, and I have been actually, believe it or not, I have been using Bard a lot, Google's AI tool.
I used it
And
when it first came out. I honestly did not find it all that great. I found it a bit buggy, and I found GPT to be a lot more reliable, to be honest with you.
oh, really?
Yeah, and I use a tool called Notion. And Notion, what it does is it's a productivity tool where you can have your ideas and all of that in one place. You can have your calendar, you can have you can pretty much have your entire diary, journal, your to-do list. You can have a notebook handy, and they implemented AI in their tool, and now you can pretty much tell it to write a short story. So GPT is being integrated and implemented in a lot of third-party tools as well. So we sometimes can't really tell whether it's the app that's doing it, whether it's or whether it's GPT. So a lot of GPT is running behind scenes in a lot of these tools.
Oh, definitely. I mean, anything you see, I think, going into the future within the next year or two, there will be some form of AI built into it. Because if you want to sell, from the marketing perspective, all the companies want to put an AI spin on it, which is important. In my one of the apps actually wanted to talk about, my favorite one recently I've been using is called Runway ML. And they came up with their second version, which is text to video.
Okay.
It's not there where it should be, but eventually we're looking at the possibility of generating movies, full-fledged
And is
movies
this through
using
like
the
a Discord
characters.
server? Is this through like a Discord
No,
server?
it's a full-fledged application. I think if you just Google Runway ML, and you'll be able to find more information about it. I think there's a freemium version where you can generate something for free, and it does a lot of things, creative things on the fly, where you want to remove the background from the video, or you want to add an element to the video, or you want to talk to, like we were talking about earlier, like your avatar or a different avatar, the human having a conversation with that. So I think some of that technology is very promising. So watch out for that.
Another tool that I've been using a lot, and this is, you talked about video. I'll talk about pictures now. Is MidJourney. I think
MidJourney,
that
yeah.
thing is insane. So that that thing runs through the Discord server, right? So
Yes.
I got the premium version for it, and I did a few pictures, and maybe if I can show it to the camera, there's no way of me sharing this on the podcast right now, but so I'll tell you, I gave it like a few prompts, right? So I did one saying, hey, and my kids actually prompted it to do something. So my kids are really into like a unicorn, right? They watch unicorns a lot. So they prompted it to say, give me a unicorn sitting in an airplane sipping on some juice. Okay. So very weird. Actually, it's I'm glad that that prompt was given, because I wanted to see what it comes out with, because it's such a very unique sort of a prompt, and I don't know whether you can see it or not.
I see it. Okay. Wow, that's great.
This is exactly what it came out with. So that's,
you gotta send me the picture. I will show it to my daughter.
And then cricketer Virat Kohli, right? So I did give me Virat Kohli playing Holi at Wankhede Stadium.
Kya baat hai?
Okay. So this is what it comes out with, and I'll let it zoom right there.
He's looking good. I think he's retired now.
Yeah.
In that picture.
Yeah. So look, I mean, what I'm trying to get at is, and this is all happening within 30 seconds, my friend. You know what I mean? Like this is insane technology. This is, I mean, if this is happening right now, can you imagine what's going to happen in the next 3-4 years? You will not be able to tell the difference between, this is what the scary part is, according to me, right? I'm all for technology, but if I can't tell a difference between originality and artificial, then that's a problem. That's gonna be creating a lot of problem. Because right as it is, people believe whatever they see on the internet, right? And people believe things very easily. now it's going to be easier to fool people.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, the whole fake news thing on social media was big. But imagine this, and people are like, "Oh, I have a proof. I have a picture of this. I have a video of this incident." Now you can even fake those, and they can really cause a lot of trouble down the road. When you let me ask you this, Vaibhav, since you are into the you do a lot of voiceovers, and that particular area, what is your take on it? Where we talk about jobs being eliminated or voiceover talent.
Actually, that's
yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up because we work for a radio station, so we know the struggle also sometimes of the timeliness of getting voiceovers done, right? So there are many times when clients want their voiceovers done pretty much right away. Right? So we get a very short leash when it comes to turnaround times. We can't really take our sweet time. We have to get things done really fast. So in that aspect, I think this whole voice.ai or tools coming in to where we can find a voice and get those voiceovers done quicker, or maybe do it in your voice, but AI is using your data set and you're getting things done quicker. I think it's great. At the same time, I think AI is still going to take a long time for emotion to be added to that voice, because, like, for example, if I'm imitating somebody and doing a commercial, right? Or maybe I'm doing an emotional commercial. It'll be very difficult for AI at this stage where we are right now to kind of give you that perfection. But it can give you a simple voiceover right now, which is great. Like if you want to record a disclaimer, if you want to quickly record a voice, and if you don't have a voice handy, I think it's a great tool. And I think it can definitely speed up things.
No, definitely. I think तो फ्यूचर में हम एक पॉडकास्ट की एपिसोड वैभव की वॉइस में एआई की जनरेट की हुई एक्सपेक्ट कर सकते हैं और पार्ट ऑफ इट.
Absolutely. You know what? I actually, to get ideas for my podcast, right? Sometimes I do use ChatGPT. I mean, I don't use it for my entire, obviously I want to keep it as raw as possible, right? Like for this, for example, this conversation cannot be possible with the help of AI right now as we're just having a casual conversation.
Exactly, yeah.
But if I wanted to like research about something, right? Like just yesterday, I did an episode. In fact, today, I did an episode on butter chicken and the history of butter chicken, right? So I took a little bit of help from GPT and kind of did some research that way. It gave me some pointers, and then what I did was I took those pointers and put it in my own words and in my own emotion. So, I think AI definitely helps you speed up things for sure. But at the end of the day, I think human intervention is always going to be required because to make it your own. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And when we're really talking about the creative side of it, we talked about before, and how you connect with the music, how you connect with the art, and any type of creative thing, you gotta put your heart into it, man. Like if you start singing and as a human, you feel connected, right? जब कोई गाना बजता है या movie देखते हैं, and you start relating to those things, that type of a thing. And I think AI will be able to replace that. I think that will always the biggest difference. And whenever we are looking at even the big corporation, when they're doing this in order for them to authentically connect with their customers or their stakeholders, that part will play a really big role. The emotions, where the humans will always have a competitive edge over AI, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, the future is definitely very bright. We have to do a second part of this because, there are tools that are coming in. And let's do this. In our second part, we'll actually start focusing on specific tools. And maybe we can we can show a demo of sorts. I'm going to try to figure out a way where we can probably do a podcast where we can show a demo on the YouTube channel. And kind of walk through some of these tools, right? So let's do that on the next episode. But it's I don't know where time went. We've been talking about for over a half an hour on this topic, and it's a never-ending topic, to be honest. But Inderjit, thank you so much for joining in, and hope to have you soon again, man.
No, appreciate it, man. Thank you for having me. It was my pleasure. It was a good conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, man. Thank you so much. And for the rest
Take
of
care.
you, of course, keep listening to the RJ Vaibhav Show and this podcast. Do follow the podcast for more such interesting episodes.